We as humans have many different interpretations of time. Greek god of Chronos, chronological time, science, geological time. Prepositions reflect those interpretations. That's why sometimes they can be a little bit confusing. To understand all those little tiny differences of interpretation of time, we're going to go back into the 80s and use one of the most popular games of the 80s, the Pac-Man. In your own time, check out the game. It was really cool, old school, obviously. But let's get back to prepositions. The easiest way to start is now, because we are all comfortable with it. You are watching this video now. We understand now very well. From this point, we're going to go back. And the further back we're going to go, the wider, the bigger the block of time we're going to talk about. So we are ready to start with the first letter, P. P stands for period. Now, of course, periods have different sizes, but regardless of how big or small they are, they always have one similarity, and that is they begin and they end, which means they have those 2 points, the brackets. And what we do, we put things inside of them, which means that is exactly the preposition we are going to use whenever we talk about the period, regardless of its size. So what kind of periods are there? So you can see a period could be huge, such as a millennium or a century, but it could be as small as a minute or even a second. I can quite easily say to you, well, I have traveled to 20 countries in 1 year. Or I could say to you, I can do 20 push-ups in 1 minute or 20 push-ups in 60 seconds. It makes no difference. As long as you think about a period and you put things inside of it, we say in. When we think about a period of a day, something changes. And that's because we are thinking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We think about places we need to be, people we need to talk to, things to do. Suddenly we are thinking about our agendas. So I could ask you, what's on your agenda today? On your agenda today. You heard it right. That's the preposition on. So whenever we are approaching time from the perspective of an agenda, we are going to think about on the agenda, which means on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and so on. But day is a period, so can it consist of smaller periods? Short answer, yes. So now we can talk about a period within another period. So whenever you talk about a period, even if it's a period within another period, you are back into preposition in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Now I'm sure you've realized there is no night here. We are going to get back to it a little bit later. So let's say that there is an agenda on Monday in the morning, and that agenda is meeting. We need something more specific than just a day or a period of a day. This is exactly where we're going to go into the third type of interpretation of time, and we are going to use clock. So when we want to be really specific with regards to our interpretation of time, we are going to run to that universal concept of time of an atomic clock. And the preposition we are going to use is at. But of course, we as humans, we like to mix things up. So is it possible for us to shuffle things around or to maybe change our interpretations a little bit? Short answer, yes. Let's have a look at a couple of exceptions which, when you think about them, make sense. We have a period of a day. Period of a day could be translated into chronological time of 24 hours. In that period of 24 hours, when we focus on 12 o'clock, we know that that is a specific moment of time in the period of a day, which can be a middle of a day or a middle of a night. All other periods of a day are a little bit more flexible. When does your evening begin? Is it at 6 p.m. or is it at 5:30? But those 2 points of any day are incredibly inflexible. They are on the dot 12 o'clock, midday, midnight, which is why we are going to say at. Remember I mentioned morning, afternoon, evening. I didn't mention night. Night is right here. Why? This is a very specific moment of time during which we don't have any of those particular conscious interpretations of time. We close our eyes, nothing, open our eyes, back in the period's agendas. Therefore, we are referring to it as a specific moment at night. There is also another way to apply a clock into an even bigger period of a week. End is very specific. So if we say the end of the week, we are talking about a very specific moment of time, which means we could start applying the concept of clock to it. The end of the week, which is week end. So again, we are going to use at the weekend. That's all good, but weekend is Saturday and Sunday. And just like anyone else, you and I, we have things to do, people to see, places to be. So is it possible for us to see the weekend through the perspective of an agenda? The answer is yes. Mind you, this is very spoken, but you will hear people say on the weekend. One of the things that could be a little bit confusing is when we put all those interpretations into a sequence. We can of course use preposition in front of each of the interpretations, which means we could use on for the agenda, in for the period, and at for the clock. The funny thing is sometimes we can combine them under one preposition. But the clock again is a little bit different. It just does not like any combination. It stays separate. It likes to be on its own. So we can say on Tuesday morning without mentioning in, but we cannot get rid of at. In effect, we would say on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Another thing that could be a little bit strange is that we refer to dates as agendas to a certain degree. So if you have a doctor's appointment, you can say, I have a doctor's appointment on the 4th of April, or I met her on the 4th of April 2010. So as you can see, there is quite a lot of flexibility in our interpretation of time. And even if a language considers, let's say, weekend to be a very specific moment, people can manipulate it and people can start thinking of it and considering it as an agenda. And that's because language, like anything else, evolves. Thank you for watching, and we hope you've just found English a little bit easier. Happy learning, and see you in the next video.